We are going to answer these questions before us, which says simplify each of the following. Make sure you give these a go before watching me. Okay, here we go with the first one. So we have 8 raised to the -2. Remember, when you're raising something to a negative power, what you want to do is take the reciprocal of it, and then once you've done that, you can change the sign of the power. Now, you're just saying, what's 8 squared? It's 1 on 64. That is our answer to the first one. We come to the next one here. How are we going to answer this one? Okay, well, the first things first, this -4 applies to both the 1 and the 2. So this is the same as 1 to the -4 over 2 to the -4. Then take the reciprocal. So instead of 1 on 2, it's 2 on 1. Just swap the numerator and the denominator. Now you can change the sign of the power. Now this is where you just need to know that 2 to the power of 4 is 16. It's kind of a non-negotiable. You just need to memorize that. 1 to the power of 4 is 1. So that means our final answer here is 16. All right, let's do that and move to the next one. Now, there are different ways. As you can see, these questions here, this one and this one, they're kind of the same question, but I want to show you how you can approach them differently. So for instance, here, what you could do is say, well, let's just swap. Let's take the reciprocal of 3 to the 4. So it becomes 4 to the 3. And now you can change the sign of your power. So it's going to be 3. And now you can go, well, I've got 4 to the 3 and 3 to the 3. 4 to the 3 is 64. 3 to the 3 is 27. And again, you just need to memorize those. You just need to know them. Then once we've done that, we're done. That's all we have to do there. Our answer is 64 on 27. And you can kind of think of ways you could do this even more efficiently. Like, for instance, you could have gone straight to this step here, couldn't you? If you're feeling brave. All right, let's continue on with this one here. Okay, so what's happening here? Well, we're just distributing out this 3. So it's 5 times 3 here. So we go 5 times 3. So A, 5 times 3. A is 15. There is our answer. Let's give it a highlight and move to the next one. Here we go. Okay, so we've got a negative power here. What's the best way to approach this? There are different ways of going about it. So you can kind of think, well, what's the best way of doing it? Probably the first thing I would do is multiply these powers together. So I would go, this is the same thing as a half -6. And then once you've done that, you can say, well, let's take the reciprocal of that and then change this to a positive. Now, this is going to be the same thing as 2 to the 6 over 1 to the 6. Now, is there any real point of putting 1 to the 6 there? You know it's just going to be 1, so why would you do it? It's kind of silly, but I'm trying to be exhaustive here so you kind of know what each thing is happening. So that means I'm just left with 2 to the 6. What is 2 to the 6? This is something that you just need to memorize. I know it can be daunting at first to think you've got to memorize all of these things, but 2 to the 6 is simply 64. Memorize that. All right, we continue on to, and let me highlight that, and then we'll go on to our next one, 64. All right, we come to this one. Again, there are different ways to answer this question, some quicker than others. What I would do here is go, all right, 3 times 2, is 6. Now it's b to the 6. Now I always hate it when I have to do b to the 6 because the b looks like a 6. All right, next. Here I've got 2 times -1, so it's going to be b to the -2. Now what's the best way to go about this? Well, I would use the fact that we know that they're simply going to add here, aren't they? This is going to be 6 plus -2. So it's going to be b, 6 plus -2. B is going to be equal to 4. And just like that, we've got the answer. So that's the quickest way for you to answer that one. So always be thinking about the quickest and most efficient way of answering it. There are different ways of you going about this. Like, for instance, you don't have to write this down, but let's think about another way you could have answered this one, which would have been far slower. So you could have done, I've got b to the 6. Let me take the reciprocal of this. So this would be 1b squared, which means you've got b to the 6 over 6 to the 2. And then once you subtract away the powers here, you're left with b, that should be a b to the 4. So as you can see, there are different ways of going about these questions. But I think the way that I've shown you initially is far more efficient. So you want to be thinking about the most efficient way to answer these questions and not simply any way that works. All right, we'll stop here and then I'll go through the next ones with you. I'll see you soon.